Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, here we are on another repair project. And this is our 490 case disc, the 30-foot one. And if you saw my video from this past spring on our 490 33-foot, I had to replace this spacer spool right here. Well, sure enough, this one here doing the same thing. And it's a two-piece spool, so you got two halves, and the bolts or clamp each half together around that washer inside there. And so when that's pinched down, once they start wearing out, there's nothing you can do but put a new one in. And so I've got the new spool and new washer, so I'm gonna get to work here and got to get this scraper bar here dropped off the back of the gang, and then we'll be ready to start getting all the bearing bolts loosened up and drop it down on here onto the forklift here. This here will probably be a longer video, and or I may end up splitting it up into an actual two-part video for space for editing it, but we'll see what happens here. Well, gonna take it more oomph than that. Let's see if I can get this here's on the scraper bar. Try and get them tie downs loosened up. Okay, we can try this in one. It'll probably be the exact same way. Yep, not enough oomph on this 1/2-inch impact to do that. Well, I think we can take care of that problem. Okay, went from the 1/2-inch to the 1-inch. Let's see what happens now. Oh, didn't even hardly know it was there. I can tell you one thing. If y'all want an impact that will pull your teeth out, check out one of these big cordless Ingersoll Rands. I've shown this before, but it's got two 20 volt batteries. It comes with two more 20 volts and a dual charger, so you can have two on the impact and two charging at the same time. And so, yeah, this thing is nice. That gets them loosened up. That way now I can now take them off with the 1/2-inch. Just got the middle bolt here taken out, and the end ones are now loose, as you saw me get those loosened up. Of course, now I can take them right off of that 1/2-inch. But that thing is kind of awkward, and so I'm going to use the forklift, come up underneath it, and then drop it down on the forks. Okay, there we are. I'll sit you right there. And using the forklift keeps it from just wanting to drop and go everywhere or smash you on the foot. Alright, that's got that one. Now I will take and put this lock washer and little cap nut back on here. That way they can't go too far and get lost. Ah, there we go. Now the fun job, loosening up all these bolts. This is actually the middle bearing. There's, oh boy, that thing's on there tight. There's 3 bearings that hold this, one on each end, and then got one here in the center. I'm not going to show you taking every one of these bolts out, but you got, it's like a triangle shape. You got one, let's see here. You got one here on the back of the bearing, one up here at the top, then one, on around there on the front side. And so here on the middle one, I'll take all 3 bolts out. When I get down here to the ends, I'll take back and front out, loosen up the top, and same thing on this other end. Then once I have it hanging by just the two top bolt, by the, well, it'll be the two top bolts, one on each end, I'll bring the forklift back in to pick it up. Okay, I just pulled the top, well, all the bolts out except the top two. One here on this end, the top one down here on this end, the top one. And so it's just hanging by those. I'm going to bring the forklift up here and come up underneath it. We'll pop them two bolts out and it'll be ready to come right down out of them brackets. Okay, there we go. Well, we're sitting here on the forks. It's got this flat washer that appears to have purposely been bent over against that nut right there so that it can't come undone. I'm not sure why, because it's got a lock washer right there also, so that's going to do the same thing. I've been trying to get that thing bent up and I'm not having much luck. If need be, I'll get the torch and I'll whack that thing off. Well, the washer part anyway. There we go. It's beginning to open up. Ah, there we are. Well, going kind of slow. Acts like a hardened washer. Okay, well that bearing, that washer's not wanting to bend too easy, so let's just make it bend a little bit easier. Get the old smoke wrench going. Come on. Ah, there we go. Ah, come on. It'll take and heat him up and that'll make it bend a whole lot easier. It's going to have to go back basically flat because by doing so, it will let me get my impact on there. I can tell you one thing, I am not bending that thing back down when I get done. Okay. Put that right there. Okay, got that washer bent back like it's supposed to be. However, as you can see on that bolt, those threads are kind of, it's gotten into something, probably going through the field or it's hit something, and got a flat spot right there on those threads. So, hey, let's see here. Got my handy dandy tapping die set. Not exactly sure what size that is. This actually goes up to 1 inch. on the size. Let's see here. NC, now it's a coarse thread. 3/4 inch. I don't know that. I don't know if that'll go or not. Not too sure how well that's going to want to bite. It almost feels like that might be about the right size. Well, maybe. With that being kind of whopper jawed, not too sure if that's going to work or not. Okay, well, putting my reamer on there and trying to clean that up was a no-go. And so, well, I don't know if you can see it very well there on camera. I'll show you. That flat spot does not go clear down to that little jam nut. It stops at about right there. So I'm going to get the hacksaw and actually cut that off. And then just spin the nut off that. And that should work just fine. There we go. Okay, that'll work perfect. I'm not exactly sure why I had that big long stub poked out there anyway. You don't need it. The other side don't really have that on the other wing. And so now we'll get the old handy dandy impact and go ahead and take that off. The reason why I've not worked on taking this here apart or the rest of the gang yet, you got to get this here loosened up while everything else is actually holding this for you. Otherwise, it's hard to hold it when you go take it off. There we go. Okay, and that should all be cool by now. Yep. Okay, there's the big washer that holds that blade on, and that should just come off like that. All right, that's got that part. Then when you take these 4 1/2-inch bolts, these two and these two, out, it'll let that spool separate. Go ahead and toss that thing off out of the way. That ain't good. I think some of them threads are kind of goofed up on that bolt. Yep, I see it right there. Of course, all the dirt you run in doesn't exactly help matters none. It'll spin out that far and stop. Ah, there we go. If you work it enough, it'll go. There we go, finally. Getting the last bolt out here, and you can see that spool begin to separate. And so, and let's see here, one bolt holding it. Nah, not quite. And that's not going to come out. There we go. Go ahead and spin him all the way around until I can get that bolt out the rest of the way. There we go. And now the end bolt decides to drop off. All right, that's got that part out. And this here goes to the iron pile. Like I say, once it starts working and wallowing on that ring piece right here, it's done. And the bolt that goes in the end right here that holds that outside blade on is a square head bolt, just like that. And so, of course, I'll sit you down right there. There's all those parts and pieces. This part of this washer piece, of course, goes up against the blade. That square just sits right inside there like that. And of course, it's got hardware that comes in from the outside. So now that piece you do not throw out. You'll need that. And the bolt. Just the spool and that oh, hit the GoPro. Like I say, just this spool piece that gets thrown away, and this washer piece, we'll take that off and put a new one on right there, and that'll tighten that back up. But the problem is you got to take the whole entire blades, spacers, and bearings all off to get down that end. All right, guys, well, tell you what, like I said, I'm actually going to take and actually part this up, and so that way each part doesn't get too long. So I'm going to call this an end to part 1, and we'll see you back here for part 2, taking that gang apart.